Chapter 11. To the capital. Eren Nisama, look. Look. I managed to split the lumber into two. Luca cheered as he showed the result of his work. Very impressive. Eren commented as he observes the lumber that was chopped by Luca. It was rough and unclean. However, he can tell that the wood that was separated were equal in shape. You did this by yourself? My dad helped me. Luca admitted sheepishly. He said that I can't hold the axe without him watching since I was too young. He grumbled, seemingly unhappy that he can't hold the woodcutter. Don't show such expression. Eren admonished. He made the right decision. You might hurt yourself if you hold any sharp object, let alone one that has a blade sharp enough to cut a tree. I know. But it doesn't mean I like it. As the boy was sulking and whining under his breath, Eren can only shake his head. Seriously, when he was at Luca's age he already got shouted at for holding a pen because his parents were afraid that he might stab himself. Is this what a medieval age boy used as a toy? An axe and other sharp weapons? Or is it just Luca? Whichever it is, Eren didn't think it was good thing though. It was all thanks to Eren Nisama's training. Luca said with a grin, his sulking demeanor previously gone. Dad said it's not just healthy for the body, but also it makes me know how to swing it properly. Is that so? Eren said, eyes glimmering with amusement and pride. I'm glad that I could be of help. Keep in mind that exercising every morning is healthy for your body. Luca nodded, his face showing an admiring expression as if he just received some kind of gospel. And don't forget to eat your veggies and fruits to grow strong. Eren's lips quirked in amusement, his hand raised and ruffled the boy's hair. That's right, don't forget to eat veggies and fruits to grow strong. He repeated. Luca's grin was so bright and Eren was sure his teeth for a moment were sparkling like a certain bull-haired ninja in a green spandex. Luca. Bothering Eren-sama again, I see. Eren and Luca turned to see a certain young man approaching them. Luca's face immediately turned to one of annoyance while Eren only smiled kindly. Ken and I. What are you doing in here? Luca asked. Oi, what kind of question is that? This village is where I live too, you brat, so of course I'm in here. Ken answered with grin that annoys the boy. Not that. I mean, why are you here? To make sure you do not bother Eren-sama too much. Ken said. Seriously, Eren-sama comes here to enjoy the village, not get bothered by a brat like you. I don't mind, Ken. Eren chuckled. Luca's presence can be exhilarating. Hearing that, the boy's annoyed face turned into one of joy while Ken only shakes his head. You're too kind, Eren-sama. Not really. The pseudo-saber replied smoothly. By the way, are you done with your own exercises? You can say so. Ken grinned lightly while flexing his muscle. It was kind of tiring and troublesome at first, but after you move for a few minutes it becomes refreshing. Indeed, it's actually healthy for the body to move in the mornings after sleep. Eren said with an approval nod. It gives your body good metabolism and makes the blood flow inside you more smoother and better, which prevents strokes or other blood-related illness. He may not be a medical student, but his mom was a doctor and she always forced him to live a healthy lifestyle as much as possible. I don't know what you are talking about, but that sounds good. Ken said with laugh. By the way, Eren-sama. I heard you talked with the elder about crops around here before exercising with the children. That's right. Eren nodded again, this time in confirmation. Emi has an idea and theory that might work in the winter. Amelia-sama. Ken blinked, really? She found a way to grow crops in winter. You can say so. Eren said, we already discussed it with Roswell-sama and, theoretically, it could work. No, he shook his head. It will work. I believe in that, but we need to test it first. Of course, it will, since it was practically already tested in his world, but since he's in a different one, he needed to make sure how it would go. The mana in atmosphere may affect the crops after all. Hearing this, Ken turned to Amelia, who was talking with Petra and a few other ladies, the half-elf smiling and seems to be enjoying the conversation she was having. Eren himself can't help but smile at the sight of Amelia that looked quite happy. The next day, after the Woolgarm incident, Eren brought Amelia with him to the village to take care of some of children that got cursed, just to make sure they were safe. Needless to say, there was small panic when they saw the half-elf come to their village, but thankfully Eren's presence managed to calm the villagers. After that, the blonde explains to Amelia about her status as a royal candidate and why he brought her to the village. The people obviously were wary and skeptical of her, however, once again Eren managed to make them at least tolerate the silver-haired girl's presence. It seems the words and support from him who saved most of the children of the village and slaying the Woolgar made the villagers willing to give the half-elf a chance. It also helped that Amelia was nothing but kind and polite to everyone. She even showed positive behavior in supporting those who seemed down. And it also was more helping that the children liked Amelia. And apparently, they liked to tease her, and every time she fails to notice it thanks to her obliviousness. As expected from Charisma rank B, Eren thought smugly. I know that convincing a village won't be problem. For him to have charisma that was worthy to deem him king, it shouldn't be shocking that he managed to get people to trust him quite easy, as long as he behaves in righteous manner and approved by the village, it shouldn't be problem. If Amelia-sama truly does have a way to grow crops in the winter, then that will be very helpful. Ken commented while rubbing his chink. Indeed, since the kingdom right now is in quite a crisis in the economy aspect. We're going to need all the help that we can get to make it return to its former glory. Eren said with a nod. Ken let out hum while nodding, eyes drifted to where Amelia was before he shakes his head in exasperation. You know, if you asked me a month ago that we'd be friends with a half-elf, I would be screaming while running in circles. Ken said with chuckle. But seeing Amelia-sama. It's kind of hard to imagine her as the Witch of Envy. He shuddered a bit, obviously recalling the horror tale that spoke about the witch. I know what you mean. I, myself, was also wary at her in the first place. Eren agreed. However, it's hard to imagine her as the witch after she got played by Petra, right? Ken grinned at that. He also remembered the event that was mentioned by the pseudo-saber. Petra was drawing a picture of Amelia and wished for her to be the model, but at that time the half-elf was about to go back to the manor. But then the little girl made teary eyes and needless to say, Amelia immediately cancelled her schedule for that day just to make sure the girl did not cry. And it was very obvious to anyone but the half-elf that Petra was faking it. I don't know either, I should be terrified that Petra had managed to learn that from such a young age, but I can't help but laugh at the sight of woman that looks like a monster from a nightmare being played by child. Ken commented while shaking his head in exasperation. I don't know why people are afraid and hate Amelia-nisama. Luca murmured, she is kind and beautiful. He said with small pink hue adorning his cheeks. It's complicated, Luca. Eren told the boy who looked up at him. The Witch of Envy had done something so terrible, he turned and stared at the sky for a moment. That she has brought the world to its knee, devouring countless lives and caused damage that left a scar until now. People can't easily forget what she has done. But Amelia-nisama is not the witch. Luca spoke in slight vehement voice, true, she does have silver hair, but so what? I think it make her look pretty. Ken laughed at the red-faced boy's words while Eren's lips twitched upward slightly. It's obvious that the boy fancies Amelia, it can't be blamed since Amelia herself is beautiful and kind to the children, and it also not uncommon for young children to be attracted to an older girl that beautiful is beautiful and kind. Give it up, brat, Amelia-sama's clearly not interested with you. She is a royal candidate and to be queen of the kingdom, why would she bother with a brat who can barely cut wood? Shut up. At least I'm better than someone who's spending his time stalking Ankone. Eren let out small chuckle at the sight of Ken, who's sputtering while Luca was poking out his tongue in mocking manner. Why you brat? Come here you little. You have to catch me first. The pseudo-saber watched as Ken started chasing Luca, who's laughing while poking his tongue at the young man. The blonde must admit, spending time in the village like this was refreshing. It was kind of gloomy if he keeps staying in the manor, not to mention he's still not allowed to train by Amelia. This is one of the reasons why he came to the village this morning. The man from another world briefly spared a glance to Amelia, who's still chatting with the villager. One of the women took notice of this and softly tapped the half-elf on the shoulder, making her glance at her. She then whispered something to the silver-haired girl ear while looking at his direction, much to Eren's confusion and surprise. Amelia's face turned pink slightly before she turned to the woman and said something in an exasperated manner, making her let out giggle. Huh. I wonder what that was about. He thought as he smiled and waved his hand at the women that were still looking at him. And as he expected, the group of women explode into blushes and giggles. Truly, it never ceases to fascinate him that he can make people react just by a smile and a wave of hand. It feels like he is some kind of artist from Korea that just met their fans. Seems like you're having a lot of fun in there. Eren said to Amelia, who began walking beside him. The duo was already done with their businesses inside the village and now on their way back to manor. You can say so. Amelia admitted with a smile. I have fun talking with Enko, Cleo, and the others. She said. We talked about shampoo and hair treatment, I don't know why, but they seemed very surprised when I told them that I used herbs and some other plants to clean my hair. Aaron turned and stared at her almost in an incredulous way. You're not using shampoo? No. Amelia shook her head. Why? Aaron questioned. Why not? Amelia asked back with confused look. I was using them ever since I was little. And those shampoo also uses herbs and plants as materials, right? Technically that was true, but... You're really something, Emmy. Aaron commented in an exasperated manner. The way you said it. It makes me want to whack you. Amelia replied with twitching eyes. What an abusive behavior, is that how a queen is supposed to act? Violence is necessary sometimes, and in this case, to discipline you. Amelia huffed her cheeks cutely. Seriously, Aaron, you treat me like a kid. I do not. Aaron defended himself, I treat you like someone who doesn't know what they're doing. That's actually worse. But that is the truth. I mean, really. Herbs and plants. And what is wrong with that? Aaron responded to the half-elf by pinching her cheek, making Amelia yelp. Nothing wrong, just unusual. He said with a sigh. And it's also unhealthy. While true it makes you smell nice, but that doesn't help if your hair might fall off in any second. Please use shampoo from now on for sanitary. Wet MWY tweak guo. Amelia squeaked as she tries to pry Aaron's hand away, but as expected, the hand remained locked in there. Fortunately for her, Aaron decided to only pinch to her for a short amount of time. He released his grasp from the girl's face and allows her to rub her cheek that was stinging. Think of that as punishment. Now please tell me at least you use soap to wash your body. Originally, I also use herbs and plant. Amelia grumbled as she rubs her sore cheek, her eyes widened when Aaron's hand rose again. But, now I use soap. She added with a slight squeak, hands raised and covering her own cheeks. Good, at least you're clean. Aaron grunted in approval. While hair can be washed using certain types of plants and herbs, he doesn't think using them for the body is enough. He may not be a hygienic person, but even he know that this was not healthy. It was his turn to yelp when he felt a hand poking him in the ribs. He turns and glares at Amelia who, in response, was poking out her tongue at him. Very funny, you really have a good sense of humor, Your Highness. Aaron deadpanned. Amelia glared at him, obviously aware of his sarcasm. She opens her mouth to retort only to shut it. She let out a sigh, she can't win against him. She knows that, if she's going to argue against him it will only end with her getting more teased. How does Ram keep up with him? The half-elf wondered as she glanced at Aaron who just walked while staring at the front. Aaron let out his voice as his eyes caught something from afar. What is it? Amelia asked. We have guests. He answered as he pointed at the manor that was now already in their sights. In front of the Roswell mansion's main gate was a single horse-sized lizard carriage. The lizard is familiar to Aaron, who recognized it in an instant. It may have different color of scales, but it's still the same type. So, the envoy from the capital has arrived. Amelia murmured. It seems so. Aaron commented, eyes scanning the carriage from far. What do you think would they want to talk about? It would probably be about the royal selection. Amelia answered after a moment of thinking. The date must have been already set in place. Aaron did not make any comment save for nod of approval. Both of them finally arrived at the manor's gate. On the carriage it was pulling, there was a stand built to seat a coachman, sitting on which was a person who fits the bill. Spotting the two approaching, he began to climb down to the ground. His stature was not much taller than Aaron. Well, nobody was taller than Aaron, but he was almost. His head was dyed pure white with abundant hair that showed no sign of thinning. His attire was that of a coachman, that is a formal, extremely expensive-looking, black uniform. His back was straight, the muscles under his clothes showed no sign of age and one could tell at a glance that they were finely toned. Welcome back. I beg your pardon for parking our vehicle in front of your gate. He greeted Aaron and Amelia with a conduct fitting for an old gentleman while offering a bow to them. Then he straightened his back again and focused his gaze at them, and Aaron felt his body went stiff when those blue eyes fell on him. Dangerous. Aaron knew that Wilhelm van Astria is someone that's considered as one of the strongest characters in Re:0. He managed to fight against Betelgeuse without knowing his ability, the unseen hand, and still come out as victor. He has beaten Reinhardt's predecessor when he was still young, and even in his old age, he still manages to claw himself out from Hakugiai's body, which was clearly something that deemed worthy to be considered as servant-level achievement. And now he faces the man himself. All the instinct in his body practically warns him to not mess with this man without good reason. He sensed the old man's intense gaze locked on him, emerald green meets sapphire blue. The pseudo-saber refused to look away from the sword demon, refuses to step back in front of eyes that are scanning him like a hawk tracking its prey. He doesn't know why, but he feels as if he did, he's going to lose at some point. And Eren doesn't like losing. The emissary are already inside the mansion, I take it? Amelia's question is the one that broke their glare contest as Wilhelm turned to her and gave another bow. Yes, the envoy is already inside the mansion holding an audience with the count. I see. Amelia murmured, her curious face changing seriously. Very well then. She turned to Eren and blinked when she noticed how close he was to her. It's as if he's protecting her and still have his gaze locked to Wilhelm. Eren? The call broke the man away from his intense look. When he turned to Amelia, his face was calm and collected. It reminded the half-elf of how he looked the first time they met. Sorry for not paying attention, Amelia-sama. He gave a small bow to her in a polite manner, and this made the silver-haired girl surprised that she was addressed with such formality. Then she remembered that Eren said he will treat her with respect when things come down. It's actually kind of strange to see this side of him once again after spending time with him in a informal way. Then again, that is the reason why I... Amelia unconsciously smiled at Eren's display of attitude. It's okay. Shall we enter then? Eren suggested. Yes. Amelia nodded as she walked past the old man in suit with Eren following her. Do you want me to accompany you to the meeting? Eren asked as they entered the mansion and out from the old man's hearing range. No, it's not necessary. Amelia denied with slight anxiety, but you can guide me to there though. Understood. Eren responded with nod, his face stoic with no emotion presented on it. Eren-sama, Amelia-sama. Both of them turned and see Rem approaching them, her face also stoic and composed, just like when she met Eren for the first time. Aryem. Eren gave a nod of greeting to her. I will escort Amelia-sama to the meeting place. In the meantime, can you serve drink for the old man outside? It won't be polite to leave him waiting just like that. Rem blinked once before giving a bow to him. Yes, Eren-sama. And offer him to enter the mansion as well. I'm sure Roswell-san won't be bothered by such things. Yes. Be careful though. Eren added with sharp look. That man. He is dangerous, though I doubt he will do something with Roswell-san in here, but we must stay vigilant. Then isn't it better if we just let him stay outside? Rem asked. It can be labeled as impolite. Roswell-san is the Count Magician of Lugnica. He is someone with a high reputation. Surely someone at his caliber shouldn't have problem with such trivial things. Rem understand the big picture. Very well, Rem will do as Eren-sama said. Good. Then, Rem shall prepare drink for the guest. Rem bowed to Eren and Amelia before leaving. The half-elf turned to Eren with slight awe in her eyes. I know that you are very good at things like this, but... It never ceases to amaze me to see you behave like that so easily. It's nothing special, really. Eren brushed the compliment. I just use simple logic and common sense, then I try to place myself in Rose's position. Eren, I may be not the brightest person when it comes to something common, but even I know that is not common sense. Eren feel his lips tugged upward at the blank and dull look that Amelia is giving to him. Maybe. He said mysteriously. Now let's go, you have guests waiting for you. To the capital? I asked as I stare at Roswell. Indeed. Roswell answered with nod. I want you to come with us. The one that's showing a surprised expression was not just me, but everyone. Especially Amelia. She seems very opposed to the idea judging from her expression. It has been few hours ever since Wilhelm and Felix left the manor, and right now we're having dinner. I did not try to greet Wilhelm or make contact with any of them. Why? Because I don't have anything or any reason to talk with him. Unlike Subaru, who worked here, I'm a guest. An honorary resident of this mansion. And I also know everything that seems necessary, so I don't need to get information from him, yet. True, in the future I do plan to get close with Wilhelm. He is clearly a very useful ally after all, but right now I don't have any good reason to do that. If I don't have a solid reason, or any reason at all, to get him to trust me, it will only end with suspicions and mistrust. And with Crush, who can detect any sort of lie she hears, on his side, it would be better to wait for the right time, along with phrasing my words correctly. Roswell. Why is Eren supposed to come with us to the capital? Amelia asked, demanded to know judging by the disapproval look on her face. Because Eren-san is needed. Roswell answered. There are people who want to meet Eren-san in the capital. Me? I blinked while pointing to myself. Yes. People who would want to meet Eren. Amelia asked while glancing at me. Who are they? I asked with suspicion. I never contacted anyone outside of Arlem village and this manor ever since I come here. Other than Reinhard, I don't know who else is an important character that I might meet. And why would they want to meet me? Roswell answered my question with smile. Anastasia Hashin. I blinked, once, twice and opened my mouth too. Anastasia Hashin. Amelia cut me before I can speak with loud gasp. One of the royal candidates. Yees, the same one ye. Amelia turned to me, face demanding explanation. Eren. Explain. Anastasia Hashin. Beautiful girl with purple hair? Yes. Roswell nodded. You know her. Amelia seems more agitated at my reply. Where did you meet her? Nope, never met her. I answered nonchalantly. The half-elf goggled at me, her face scrunched to a mixture of pure disbelief and shock which resulting in a comical expression that I enjoyed. Then how? I've seen her drawing, Rose showed it to me. I said while pointing to Roswell and barely able to hold the twitch on my lips at the half-elf's reaction. Amelia's shocked face slowly turned to one that showed irritation, her eyes twitching and she glared at me. Eren. This is serious. I'm very tempted to make another joke but seeing her expression, that would be unwise. So, I let out a sigh and shake my head. I know, sorry for that. I apologized sincerely. But to be honest, I never met Anastasia Hashin or even once talked with her. Honestly, I was also surprised to hear this. If I recall, Anastasia was the head of a mercenary group, and very greedy girl, to the point she admitted it herself. She also has some kind of artificial spirit that was made by Echidna by her. She is no threat in direct combat, but her mind and ambition. Now that was something else. She is basically a weakling character that worked hard from her early age to the point she managed to build a large trading company with nothing but her intelligence. Still. Why would she want to meet me? We never talked to each other and I did not recall ever seeing her when I was in the capital. Sure, there might be a chance that she saw me but... What would be her reason to wanting to meet me? Your reputation injuring Elsa Granherd is not a secret you know. Roswell said as if he was reading what was in my mind, a compliment from someone like Reinhard van Astria is not something that's easily dismissed. Wait. What? My fight with Elsa. I repeated with a slight dumbfounded voice. Is that it? But I don't understand, Subaru himself. Oh. Shit. Of course. I should have seen this coming in the first place. Why in name of hell didn't this cross my mind? Gah. I'm really stupid. Stupithiad. How in name of Akasha did I not think about this in the first place? In canon, Subaru did nothing but defend himself, and even so, it was clear he was totally outclassed by Elsa. However, in here, that did not happen. As matter of fact, it was the total opposite. I beat down Elsa. Granted, it was a lucky shot but Reinhard did not see our battle. And judging by how Elsa talked to me before she retreated, it was clear that I'm the winner. And Elsa has quite the reputation. While she clearly was not the strongest fighter, but it doesn't change the fact that she is incredibly strong. She can probably go toe-on-toe with Wilhelm, who is a legend and dubbed as the sword demon from his reputation in the war. And I just beat her. In outside perspective, some unknown person just appeared and managed to defeat a notorious criminal that has killed more than 100 of her victims and many knights in the past. That was more than enough to make people pay attention to me. My suggestion is to go to the capital of Corsi. Roswell said with smile, you said yourself that you don't want to just stay in here and do nothing, right? Yes, that is correct. Fiend. Why don't you go meet her? You can ask her for a job. That is technically true and not a bad idea. However, seeing that I support Amelia among the royal candidates, it could be risky. True, I'm sure despite her manipulative personality, Anastasia will at least stay professional when it comes jobs, but... The big question though. What business does Roswell have with Anastasia? Why would they talk in first place? It is clear that Roswell supports Amelia, and he would have known that it will be quite risky to. So that's it, huh? He doesn't care if I meet with Anastasia or not. He said this because it can be a reason for me to go to the capital along with him. Just like how he manipulated Subaru to go to the city. And, unfortunately, I was also aware that I needed to be in the capital. Just to make sure there is nothing urgent that I might miss. Not to mention, I can't miss this chance to open negotiations with Crush and the others to hunt down Hakugi. I already have planned for the witch cult, but my biggest worry will be Hakugi. And I would clearly be going to need them. Not to mention, I can get a favor from Wilhelm as well. It would be like hitting two birds with one stone. I hate this situation. Knowing that I was being manipulated. But I can't do anything to oppose it. You got this round, Roswell, you got this round. Perhaps. I agreed reluctantly. I will go to the capital then. Thien, it is decided. Roswell clapped his hands in a cheerful manner. Aaron-san will come with us to the capital. I only can shake my head and focus myself on the dinner so I can hide my discontent. It seemed it was not just me that's not happy with this result. I caught Amelia briefly glaring at me. She's obviously dissatisfied with how things had gone, but because of different reasons. I know I should say something to reassure or at least make her feel better, however, it will be better if I don't. I mean, she should be adjusted to this kind of thing since in the future I won't always be there for her. When are we going to the capital? Tomorrow? I asked. Yes. After breakfast, which is around 10 in the morning. Roswell answered genially. I hummed and glanced at Ram and Rem. The former is stoic as always while the latter always smile at me when she notices me look. Then, what about Ram and Rem? Reem will come with us to the capital while Ram will be taking care of the manor. Roswell answered with a sing-song voice. I stared at him, stared, and stared for a few seconds, hoping that he is joking, but it was clear that Clown Mage was not joking. Are you out of your mind? I asked. It was Roswell's turn to blink at me. Excuse me. You want her? I rudely pointed to Ram, who glared at me. To take care of the house, alone? I truest in Ram's ability. So, do I, if it's related to cleaning and chore, but what about food? Don't worry, Aaron-sama. Ram chimed in. Oni can survive for 3 days without any food. How about Beatrice-san? I turned back to Roswell with look, see. Roswell opened his mouth to respond before he slowly closed it, face scrunched to a thoughtful one. Good point. He admitted. Thien, we should bring Rem with Dash. Absolutely no. I denied in an instant. Rem, go with us. There is no way I want to part away with her cooking. Say what you want, but Rem is the best caretaker I ever had. She is pretty, kind, clean, efficient, and her food is amazing. There is no way I was going to leave without her if I was going to another city. But Thien, what about Ram? Let her starve. You wouldn't even hesitate to go back on your word, aren't you? Humph, rubbish. Ram let out a sniff of disdain. Aaron-sama reason is absolutely unacceptable. Aaron-sama just wants to spend more time with Rem. That obsession with Blue of yours started to be more dangerous. She shook her head and gave me a disapproving look. Ram shall go to the capital instead of Rem. It's too dangerous for Rem to stay with Aaron-sama. Alright then, that's it. I slowly stood from my seat. You and me, we go to kitchen now. I said while pointing at Ram. I'm going to teach you how to cook. That made everyone in the dining room stare at me, all of them blinking in sync. You know how to cook, Aaron? Amelia asked in disbelief. Impossible, a brute like Aaron-sama can cook. Ram asked in equal tone. Aaron-sama can work in the kitchen. Rem added in, surprised. Myyyy, that was very surprising. Roswell commented. Thien again, seeing you know how to make a delicious treat like ice cream, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise. Let it be said that our first try to make ice cream in this world was a success, since it wasn't difficult to make in the first place and added with Rem's superb skill. And Roswell absolutely loves it. As matter of fact, he is the one who loves ice cream the most in this manor. True, everyone likes it too, but they did not eat 5 bowls of ice cream continuously. And don't start with Beatrice. Seriously, that spirit really loves ice cream. She's even worse than Roswell. I can't cook like Rem, but at least I know how to feed myself. That was not a lie, I can't cook big food like curry or such things. However, I know how to make simple dishes, like fried rice, omelette or such things. Oh, and I also know how to cook salmon. It's not that hard since salmon already tastes good. All you need is butter and milk, then mix them together in a pan. And like hell I was going to let Ram give Beatrice bad food. Right now, my relationship with her is stagnant, between good and bad. Hopefully this can make me get an extra point from her. And I was also going to give her some mana so she can have enough power to last for the next few days before leaving. To think there will be a day I have to teach a maid to cook. I sighed and gave a look at Ram, who glared at me. Seriously, what kind of maid doesn't know how to cook? What kind of knight in armor can't swing a sword properly? For your information, I can swing sword fine. And for Aaron-sama's information, Ram can clean better than most people. Okay, stop right there. Roswell interjected our argument with chuckle. Wiley, it was amusing and fun to hear you're too high-spirited as always, isn't it better to use time wisely? It's already dark after all. I sighed. You're right. I turned to Ram, let's go to kitchen then. Rem, you can join us too after Emmy and Rose done. I want to join too. Amelia exclaimed while she stood from her seat. Huh? I blinked in confusion. Why? Amelia seems deflated at my question, her face showing unsureness and an hesitant expression. Perhaps Amelia-sama wants to watch Aaron-sama in the kitchen. It's quite uncommon and unexpected, even for REM. Rem chimed in, helping the half-elf, who was losing words by the minute. And it will be also very amusing to see Aaron-sama fail. Ram added. Yes. That's it. Not what Ram was saying but Rem. Amelia nodded vigorously while shooting a grateful look at Rem. Suspicious. I said aloud while glancing at Amelia and Rem, the former nervous under my gaze. Seriously, what's with those two? Could it be that they... Nah. But I guess no harm with you two watching us. I added with a sigh. She felt power surging through her, flowing inside her body. They come not in a rush like the first time. They were now controlled, neat, clean, and tamed. She must say, she was slightly surprised with this advancement. There. He said as he released his grip from her hand. Is that enough, Beatrice-san? She stared at her palm. Even until now it never ceases to amaze her how the boy was transferring mana and wasting them without giving any effort. Seriously, doesn't he know just how precious mana is to an artificial spirit like her? And he just throws them all away as if they were leaves. For 5 days it is more than enough, I suppose. Beatrice grunted. Although, Betty doesn't need it in first place, the mana Betty stored is already enough. I know, but nothing wrong with taking precautions, right? He chuckled gently. Very well, Beatrice-san, I will go now. Is there something you want from the capital? I can bring it to you if you wish. No. Now go away, Betty want to be alone. How cold. He let out laugh at the blunt refusal. Even if it's only a few days, I'm going to miss the silence in here, Beatrice-san. Of course. Betty's library is the best place in the manor. She sniffed her nose in disdain manner. As if it could be compared to others. I can agree with that. He nodded. Then, I will take my leave. See you in the next few days, Beatrice-san. She offered no words to the boy, just letting him leave and keep her eyes locked to the book she held. However, the door opened again and the boy's face popped in. Oh, by the way, Beatrice-san, I already told Rem to make stocks of ice cream for you. They're all in the fridge, please don't eat them all in one go if you can. He said before retracting his head and leaving for good this time. Beatrice stares at where the boy's face was for a moment ago before she shook her head. That boy. Seriously, she doesn't know what to say about him. She already had Pucky to watch over her and him when they spend time together in the library. And what he detected from him is, the boy has no ill or hostile intention. As a matter of fact, he seems content in her library, he really does enjoy the silence. Although, he also felt nervous and confused a lot of times, and Beatrice wasn't blind to see that the boy wants to say something to her, only for him to pull back his words after the attempt. It's obvious that the boy wanted to be friendly with her. However, he doesn't know how to do that, and Beatrice was grateful that he didn't say anything to her. That boy probably doesn't know it, but there is nothing she can do to push him away from her library. She already tried secretly, but it gave no result and the boy seems oblivious to it as matter of fact, much to her annoyance. And if that boy starts to talk and annoy her, it will be troublesome. Sure, she can push him away, but it will cause a mess in the library. Something that she does not wish to happen since it's kind of troubling to clean this place. And Beatrice had to admit, she does enjoy the boy's presence. It might be because of the power and charming aura he radiated. It reminded her of her creator. Reminded her the time she spent with her mother before she was consumed by the witch. There was never a single day she wasn't thinking about her creator. Beatrice missed her a lot. For the time she spent alone in this place, nearly half a millennium. And now, come this boy, annoyingly bursting into her life. Granted, he didn't do anything other than keeping her company, but it actually felt nice. Other than Pucky, it was really nice to have someone else to be on her side. Not that she was going to say that aloud, of course, she's not that desperate to admit it and grant that boy her permission. Though she admits, the treat he made, that ice cream, is indeed very delicious. At least she won't hesitate to give him the credit to introduce such treasure to the world. She let out a sigh and closed her book. What was she thinking? Dwelling in things like that. Thinking about that ice cream made her wish to have one now. Time to check the fridge then, 6 or 7 bowls would suffice for now. Now that I see it directly like this. It is indeed quite lively. Aaron commented as he was looking around the place. Last time, he did not manage to see the town much since he was helping Amelia, but now that he was walking by himself. Clad in his black and red outfit, the pseudo-saber was looking around the capital with a slight odd face. The city's structure and design were very unique to him, who came from a modern age. The way the buildings are arranged was clearly like a city that came from a fantasy game. As matter of fact, it reminded him of Prontera, the city capital of Rune Midgard. He thought, amused. A big castle, a barack for a knight, and a district for shopping. Yeah, this city really reminded him of Prontera from Ragnarok. That wonderful game. To be able to walk in a city like this. Truly amazing. Never in his life did he get such a good view like this. Time to selfie. Aaron thought with smile, one of his eyes seemed to let out a cling sound by the way it sparked. Now, he doesn't have to worry about his phone battery anymore, he can use it as much as he wants. If he can recall, there was supposed to be a higher ground around here. It was near one of the gate entrances, the stairs there led to a small garden on top of the gate that has quite the view. He's gonna take a lot of pictures, and by the time when he's going home, he'll have a lotto show to everyone. Heck. He'll make videos as memorials when he's no longer here. The entrance gate doesn't seem too far away and the range of the conversing mirror should be enough to cover it so. The reason why he allowed himself to go alone, despite not knowing the city very well, was because Roswell had given him a conversing mirror that would help him if he got lost. The range of the mirror that was given to him can cover around 6 kilometers, and that was quite a distance. Rem was busy cleaning the house that Roswell had in the capital, while Amelia and Roswell himself had gone to the guard barrack to check into the nobles' area for their businesses. Aaron himself also wants to go there but decided it would be on another day, he was more interested with the city than spending time in there. Not to mention, Priscilla was nearby if he recalled. Yeah, he clearly doesn't wish to meet the girl that has a personality like Gilgamesh. Who? He can't help but let out his voice, full of awe, as he stared at the city from on top of the gate. It truly was a magnificent scenery. Aaron may have gone on a few countries and had seen many beautiful and wonderful places, but this instantly enters in the top 10 in his list as one of the best cities he has ever seen. The way the buildings stretched and arranged, their design, their architecture, the demihumans and people's cloths, and the supernatural animals that are pulling the carriages. This is clearly a city that can be described as fantasy turned to reality, in his opinion. He pulled out his cell phone, humming merrily as he begins to open his camera. He snapped a photo of the scenery, taking the best picture from every single angle he can get. He won't be lying if he wasn't enjoying himself right now, since in the mansion he was always being watched, be it by Amelia, Rem or Ram. True, he can be himself and behave like usual, but when he with them there was always a weight on his shoulder, an unpleasant feeling that's burdening him since he felt guilty for hiding things from them, but at the same time, he knew that he can't tell them since it's for their own good. The only time that he was actually alone was when he was about to sleep, but even that did not give him much time since he's mostly exhausted after training in the day. It can be said that in the last 2 weeks, he spent his 1/3 of his days swinging his swords, while the other 2/3 were used to gaining points from everyone. Well, there was the time he enjoyed, and that was with Beatrice. He feels that he can relax in there but can't enjoy it to the fullest since he doesn't know what to say to her and thinking how to start a good path with her. So, while it is indeed counted as one, it's still not enough. Even right now, going to the capital, he also has work to do, planning and strategizing to be done, and trying to find information as much as he could get. Hakugi. In next the few days there will be an assault from the witch cult, and at the same time, Hakugi will also going to be wandering around the path from the capital to Arlem village. He needs to take care of the witch cult first, that was obvious. Hakugi was a big unknown, so he doesn't know the great demon beast's precise position and tackling it alone would be too risky. The witch cult meanwhile, is something he can handle. Other than Betelgeuse, he doesn't think he would need to worry about the others. Their magic was practically useless against him, true their numbers were threatening but Eren has no intentions to becoming their enemy when first meeting them. Betelgeuse is insane. He can barely win tell Subaru was lying, and Eren was a better liar than the Japanese man. If the worst came, then Eren would just use Strike Air, Hammer of the Wind King and blow them all. He was already far more better at using it than when they faced the Woolgarm, and he can use the technique that he was practicing lately. It can make him stand on equal ground with another servant. He let out a sigh. Even right now he was barely able to relax. There was always a negative feeling that reminded him of his plan and hearing whispers of how he would fail, how his plans were not enough, and how things would turn to the worst. I need a vacation, seriously. He thought while ruffling his hair. Seriously, he really needed it. Just 1 or 2 days where he can spend his time lazing in a room and doing nothing. Now can be considered as one though, albeit short and only less than an hour, but seeing the view of capital alone like this. It was quite relaxing in a way. Step. 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 It was after half an hour spending time alone that he heard sounds of footstep from below. The stairs were made of stone after all, so it was quite loud when it was stepped on, especially since he's the only person there right now. I wonder who it is. He thought questioningly as he sat on one of the stones huge enough to be used as a seat. He pulled out his cell phone, pretended to playing with it and doesn't care to not look suspicious or trying to get any unwanted attention. The sounds of the footstep were getting louder, before it finally reached the point where the person was now already on top. Eren secretly stole a look to see who had come, before almost dropping his phone when his eyes laid on the person. Why in name of Akasha is she here? Long orange hair that's tied, red eyes that reminded him of blood and a certain arrogant king, a beautiful and healthy face that was enough to consider her as someone from royal family, and an elegant red and black dress that wrapped her alluring figure in a refined manner. Standing not far from the pseudo-saber, carrying her fan, was Priscilla Bariel, one of the royal candidates and future queen of Lugnica. The blood-stained bride and the sun princess herself. Eren felt his mind shut down for a moment when his brain was registering who just appeared in front of him. This is ridiculous. Why is she here for God's sake? Shouldn't she have gone to the slum area and get herself harassed by the big, thin, and short trio? While Eren's brain was rebooting, Priscilla noticed his presence. The orange-haired girl narrowed her crimson eyes and began to approach Eren, who was staring at his phone blankly. The blood-stained bride stood straight in front of him and looked at the Pendragon with a calculating look. Hey, you! She called, her voice sounding prideful and arrogant. The sharp voice of the royal candidate broke Eren from his daze, making him look up from his phone and stare at her. Emerald green eyes meet crimson red and they found themselves staring at each other for a few seconds. Yes? He asked dully, breaking the silence between them. His voice practically screams, I don't want to talk with you, go away, aloud. Priscilla kept eyeing him with her sharp glare, keenly observing the man in front of her in detail from his outfit to his whole appearance. I have decided. She spoke in a solemn voice as if she just received a gospel from God. She dramatically pointed her fan and gave a serious look at him. From now on, you will be my knight. She declared loudly with a voice that was comparable to a queen declaring her law. Fuck no. Eren refused bluntly, not even making any attempt to hide his rudeness. Go away, I'm not that desperate to become a knight just to serve under someone like you. Priscilla's right eye twitched, before she unfolded her fan and started waving it at her face. Someone like me? She questioned. And what is wrong with me? Just so you know, I am the most blessed person in the world. She brushed her hair elegantly, causing them flail silkily. Serving under me means success and victory. You should be grateful that I declared you as my knight in the first place. Aaron stared at the orange-haired woman with a dull face, just before his face scrunched to a displeased expression. Wrinkles appearing along the forehead, and eyebrows arching upward, his nose seems to disappear into just nostrils, while his mouth reveals teeth that clenched, and eyes narrow and look to the side as if looking at her brings up a bad memory. It was the famous Excalibur face. What's with that ugly face? Priscilla yelled, a random vein appearing on her head comically. How dare you look at me with such a face? Even if you're my knight, I will not tolerate such insolence. Get on your knee and apologize right now. Instead of doing that, Aaron simply planted a hand on his face, while a heavy sigh escaped from his lips. His head was starting to feel like a steamed pot. He was very tempted to say, "Fuck you," again to the woman in front of him. However, he knows that that will only make the situation much worse. Who are you anyway? He asked, pretending to be ignorant. Coming here, disturbing someone's peace. How rude. Is it rude for a queen to poke something that belongs to her? Of course not. Priscilla brushed the insult easily with a sneer. And don't try to lie. You know who I am the moment you laid your eyes on me. You should introduce yourself to your queen, knight. Seriously, not just you dare to stare at me with such a face, but trying to trick your queen. Clearly I need to teach you more after bringing you home. Aaron Pendragon. Aaron did so in irritated manner. Well, nice to meet you, soon to be Queen of Lugnica. He said in a voice filled with sarcasm, with a little hint of wanting the opposite, as he stood and pocketed his phone. See you later then. He waved his hand and began to walk away from the woman. Only for a hand to grip the back of his collar, preventing him from wailing away. The pseudo-saber glanced back and narrowed his eyes at the hand that was glued to his shirt. And where are you going? Priscilla asked in an annoyed voice. Leaving your queen just like that. You're not my queen. Aaron replied rudely, his emerald green eyes shifted and meets the crimson red that was leering at him. You just declared it out of whim. Now, kindly remove your hand from my shirt, Priscilla-sama, or I will remove it from your body. He said coldly. He was bluffing, he won't do that, such a thing was too barbaric and violent for him. However, he knew if he was not using such harsh words it won't deter the woman that was currently standing in his way. However, instead of being afraid or offended, this seemed to make the orange-haired woman amused, judging by her eyebrow that quirked and her lips that curled into a smirk. So you have a bark. She said in approval. She removed her grip from the collar and left Aaron to fix his shirt. From your eyes, I can tell right now you already have a path and goal in mind. I respect that. However, I wonder how long will you able to keep that facade of yours? Aaron's eyes narrowed, his gaze was cold a moment ago but now it's borderline murderous. Facade? Is that what she calls his behavior? He maybe hid many things from Amelia and the others, but never once he acted out of character to them. He always keeps his personality and treats them with genuine kindness and care. They are his friends. Granted, he manipulated and lied to them, but what he had with them now? He already considered it as something precious to him. And yet, this woman has the nerve to make that comment and insult him? This woman, who had never experienced the hardship in her life and relies solely only on luck. He briefly wondered. Was this why Saber hated Gilgamesh so much? Mind your tongue, Priscilla-sama, it would be a bad sight if that pretty face of yours lost the ability to make coherent words. Aaron responded stolidly. Resorting to threats now. Priscilla waved her fan and began cooling herself. She seemed unafraid of the man's ominous words. How rude. For someone who looks gallant and royal, you have a personality that's unfitting. Only to those who's rude to me in the first place. Aaron snorted. Why are you here, Priscilla-sama? Someone with a high stature like you shouldn't go alone without guard. I do and go wherever I want. There's no need for me to be accompanied. I'm free to do whatever I wish. In other words, you ditched your guard because you were bored and had nothing to do. Aaron summarized while rolling his eyes. How very responsible of you, truly you are a prime example for all queens in the world. Priscilla glared at him. If she could inflict pain through her eyes, Aaron would be writhing on ground now. Such trivial and mundane things should not bother me in the first place. Besides, I have you with me now, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm not your caretaker or knight, lady. Aaron rebuked with a glare. Go away, bother someone else and dash. The blonde-haired man cut himself off when he heard multiple footsteps echoing from below. His eyes narrowed as the steps seemed to quicken and there was a lot of them. Priscilla also seemed to hear it, judging from her gaze that shifted to where the stairs were. The duo watched as a group of people emerged from the stairs, around a dozen or more. 3 of them were familiar to Aaron, who recognized them in an instant. The big, thin, and short trio. He exclaimed in his mind. Found you. Tun the big growled as he glared at Priscilla. You think you can get away after mocking us, huh, lady? We'll teach you a lesson that you'll never forget. Aaron stared dully at the group of thugs that come out of nowhere before glancing at the orange-haired woman. Your friend's Priscilla-sama. As if. Priscilla rebuked indignantly. To compare someone at my status to them. Are you an idiot? No, but I think they're not too different from you in 1 or 2 ways. Yes, I know who this annoying lady is. Aaron answered with a flat look. And before you ask, this woman is the one who approached me when I was alone. I have no intention to meet her in the first place. He ruffled his hair in annoyance, his face even showed his displeasure. Is that so? Amelia seems at a loss of words at the moment, taken back by how annoyed Aaron looked. Normally, he would try to hide it or at least control his face, but now. How rude of you to dismiss your queen just like that. Priscilla remarked as she took one of Aaron's arm and hung on him, allowing her wonderful Asetsuto press into the pseudo-saber's limb. And what business do you have with my knight, half-wit? She asked as she stared at Amelia in the mirror. Aaron felt his cheeks warming up at the sudden closeness, but he felt more irritated rather than flustered now. Priscilla-sama, kindly remove yourself from me. And I'm not your knight. Aaron commented with irritation. And the so-called half-wit you called was my friend, so please at least address her properly. He told the woman with a stern look on his face before turned back to Amelia, who was glaring at him. What's with that look? I'm not in the fault here. He said to the half-elf with exasperated expression. Huh? Is that your voice I heard, Haim-san? A new and unfamiliar voice reached Aaron's ear and his eyes narrowed, his red face gone and turned to one of calculating seriousness. Al or Aldebaran? A man that was summoned to this world from Subaru's world. Or at least, a modern world that was similar like Earth, where things like this is fantasy. Having the ability to return from death, he seems oblivious to it as a matter of fact. While his Earth magic can't do anything to me, that ability though. It was troubling on some level, the ability to cannot die. It's unclear and mysterious. While he is weak, it doesn't change the fact it will allow him to learn more about his opponent and in just matter of time be able to bring them down, or to have enough time to disperse the problem entirely. That voice. Priscilla seemed to be perked up at hearing the voice of her companion. Ah, excuse me Amelia-sama, but can I borrow that mirror? Huh? Sure. The reflection of Al soon appeared in the mirror and he was like what Aaron had expected, wearing a black knightly helmet that covered his whole face while wearing a green vest and an orange cloak. Al, I see you already prepared a way to contact me if you got lost, as expected from my companion. Priscilla said in an approving tone. More like coincidence and luck, but whatever makes you happy, Haim-san. Al replied flippantly. And that man beside you? My knight. I'm not your knight. I would rather become a knight for the slums than be one of yours. Aaron bluntly refused with an annoyed look as he turned to Al. You're her caretaker, right? Wait for us in guard barrack, I will bring her to you. Ah, sure, sorry for asking that for you. Al replied, his voice slightly sheepish and apologetic. It's fine, now can you pass the mirror back to my friend? Al did as he said, and soon Amelia's face appeared on the mirror. I will see you in the guard barracks, Emmy. I promise to explain everything to you once I get there, okay? Fine. Amelia agreed reluctantly. It was clear from her face there was still more that she wanted to say, but since Aaron promised her. I will be waiting for you then. Sure, see you later. With that, he flipped down the mirror, cutting the connection between the two, before stuffing it back into his pocket. He sighed after it was done. Befriending with that half-wit. Priscilla remarked while shooting an amused smirk at Aaron. You certainly have some strange tastes, my knight. I'm not your knight. Aaron replied sharply. While I appreciate the offer. He did not, that was a blatant lie. And just for you know, I prefer that so-called half-wit than you, Priscilla-sama. He shot a look at the woman who clung on him. Now kindly remove yourself from me. He said, using a portion of his strength to unbind himself from the woman. Priscilla allowed the blonde to do so with a smirk, her red eyes seemed to glimmer with indecipherable light. That untamed and wild behavior of you. It just makes me have my full attention on you. The way she said it. It was very familiar for some reason to Eren that he can't help but shudder inwardly. Seriously, this girl's really like Gilgamesh except she's more tolerant and was incapable to shoot thousands of legendary weapons. I should just jump straight down below, I'm sure I'll survive if I did that. He thought as he stared at the city beneath him from his position. While he was high now, he was sure it was something that he can handle. He was considering it the moment he saw her for the first time but decided that maybe the girl won't be that bad. And it was useless to avoid the confrontation since they will nevertheless cross paths in the future, so it'll be better if he'd be done with it. Now he was starting to regret it though. Yeah, he really needed a vacation. Maybe he can use some after finishing Arc 3. That is, if Arc 4 wasn't there waiting for him. I'm too young for this shit. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.